Dānamahapphala Sutra, which is normally found in the old versions of Pali Kenyan, Anguttara Nikaya, Book of 7, Sutra 49. If you go to Access to Insight, then it is Anguttara Nikaya 7.49. But if you go to the newer Pali text, if you go to sutracentral.net, for instance, you will only find it in Anguttara Nikaya 7.52. I'm not sure about the history behind why some of them are numbered, are renumbered differently, right? So obviously there were 3 more sutras that were added in that book of 7s. But whatever it is, so just bear in mind, if you can't find it in 7.49, look for it in 7.52, whichever text you're looking for. Sometimes it is called by a very short name, DāNA Sutra. But the full name is Dānamahapphala Sutra. Now, Dāna, we know what it is, giving. Maha means great or higher. So that means it's a higher or greater. And Phala. Phala normally translated as fruition. That means the fruits you gain from good deeds. What you benefit from it. The benefit you get, the fruits you gain from the good deeds. So this is basically the greatest fruits you can gain from doing dāna. That's really what the title means. And in this story, the Buddha described 7 wholesome motivations why people give. So there's a long introduction to the story. I will cut it short down to 1 quick page. The story begins by the fact that the Buddha came to a village by the name of Kampa. And this is very near the lake Gangara. So the Buddha came to this town and stayed nearby. No mention whether it was a monastery or what, but whatever it is, the Buddha stayed nearby. And then the villagers of Kampa were very excited. They knew the Buddha was in town. Now they wanted to go listen to the Buddha giving discourse. Now, normally Buddha gives discourses to his disciples, the monks. But now a group of lay people wanted to hear the Buddha give a discourse. So they came to look for the Buddha, hoping to get the Buddha to give a discourse, a Dhamma talk. And they came across Venerable Sariputta. So they asked Venerable Sariputta, could we hear the Buddha giving a discourse to us, this group of lay devotees? And Sariputta said, well, the Buddha don't normally just give discourses to lay devotees, but on full moon day, the Buddha will surely do that. So why don't you all come back at the next full moon day? That's what the Sariputta advised all the lay devotees. So of course the lay devotees were very happy that next full moon day they're going to hear a Dhamma talk or a discourse from the Buddha. So they came back. The next full moon day, they came back. Next full moon day, they came back, approached Sariputta. Together, they went to see the Buddha. And they paid their respects and all sat down. And then Sariputta, in order to kick things off, started asking the Buddha questions so that based on the question, the Buddha would be able to give a discourse, right? So that there is a topic to talk about. And the topic is, of course, giving, dāna. Because the lay devotees, they wanted to do dāna. So now the Sariputta asked the Buddha, might there be the case where one person gives a gift of a certain kind and it does not bear great fruit or great benefit, and yet another person gives a gift of the same kind and it bears great fruit and great benefit? In other words, 2 people, one person giving something, there is no great benefit, no great outcome, no great rewards, no great consequences. On the other hand, another person giving more or less the same thing and yet end up benefiting greatly from it. Right? Why is that? So in other words, both are giving more or less the same thing, and one benefits and one doesn't. So the Buddha answered, yes, of course, it is possible, and it happens all the time that two people giving the same thing, more or less the same thing, and yet one will not get any benefit or fruition from it, the other one will benefit tremendously from it. And then Sariputta went on to ask, why is that, right? So, of course, this was to prompt the Buddha to give a discourse on this question. So Sariputta then went on to ask the Buddha the reason why this is so. And then the Buddha went on to explain, right? The Buddha explained that there are 7 motivations for giving. Here, these 7, the Buddha was referring to 7 motivations that end up with great benefits and great rewards. So these are what we call wholesome motivations. They are also unwholesome motivations. Unwholesome motivations means they okay, I'll just explain unwholesome motivations. I think it's better. Then when we get into the wholesome motivations, it's easier for you to understand. Unwholesome motivations. When you give something to somebody, now think about it. When you give, you let go. What you have given, do you still own it? Is it still yours? No more. So when you have given something, it's no more yours. Let it go. Finish. End of story as far as the process of giving is concerned. Unwholesome means when people give, they have ulterior motives behind it. They want the other person to respect them. They want something back from the other person, the recipient. They want the recipient to obey them. They want to control the recipients. In other words, when you give something and you are still attached to what you are giving and you are trying to control the people who receive it from you, this is very unwholesome, right? So in other words, you have ulterior motive, and this is really the dynamics of your interaction with the recipient. Because when you give, let it go. It's not yours anymore. It's finished. Don't begin to control what people do with what you give. If you do that, then it's unwholesome. So if you give and let it go, that would be the wholesome giving. And there are 7 motivations behind such wholesome giving. So always remember, when you give something, it is no more yours. Let it go. And don't try to demand or expect or hope for something in return from the person who received it from you. Don't try to control what people do. That is called manipulation. Right? Don't give for the purpose of manipulation. That is highly, highly unwholesome. Give because you just want to give it and let it go. So there are 7 such motivations. So let's look at the most simple one now. I want to caution you, some people might not think well of the first reason, but actually there is a good reason why this is a good, wholesome motivation. The first one, giving, seeking for your own benefit, with a mind attached to rewards, not attached to the other person, trying to control that person, but hoping to get something back, not from the recipient, but hoping to gain something from it. And usually this is hoping to accumulate merits. So in other words, we give hoping that, oh, this is the gift that I give, this is very good and I'm going to get good merits from it. Now, that is not a bad thought. I will explain later on. Let's go on with this explanation. Seeking own profit, that means you want to get something for yourself, and that is the accumulation of merits. And then you begin to think, oh, I will enjoy these merits in my next life. I will be reborn in a better place. Now, this is not a bad thought. Some people think, oh, that is not good thought. Don't worry about it. When you are not giving for purpose of manipulation, when you're not giving for the purpose of controlling other people, then it is wholesome. It is when you want to manipulate people, that is unwholesome. So if you want to get some merits for yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. So here is a clear case. The Buddha actually made this very clear, right? So he gives his gifts of food, drinks, clothing, shelter, vehicle, garland, perfume, ointment, bedding, lamp, whatever it is that he's giving, right? And after he has done that, eventually on the breakup of the body, and this is usually the phrase that the Buddha used to describe when a person dies, but of course the Buddha never used the word die. The Buddha basically says, on the breakup of the body, that means at the end of your life, he reappears in the realm of the four great kings. So in other words, a person who does this in a wholesome way, even though you are hoping for good merits, accumulation of merits, you can still be reborn in the higher realm, in the realm of the devas. But this is not talking about giving one time. This is continuously giving. Basically, what this is having is that having, this is basically getting something as a result of your good action and the merits, the good karma you have accumulated. But this good karma does not last forever. It will bear fruition. It will arise, and then it is gone. You won't have it anymore. So therefore, here the Buddha warned basically. Then, having exhausted that action, that karma, that power, that status, that sovereignty, and all the benefits that you get from all that, he is a returner coming back to this world. That means if you do a lot of giving for the benefit of good karma and merits, you could be reborn in a higher realm. But once you're reborn in a higher realm, you would have exhausted all the merits you have accumulated. And having exhausted all the merits you have accumulated, you will now become reborn as a human again. You become a returner. So out of these 7 motivations, so a few of them, you end up coming back, returning, right? So you could be a Sotapan, 7-time returner, but there's no mention whether a person would have attained Sotapan attainment or not. So there's no mention. So don't assume that one becomes a Sotapan, right? Basically, it just depends on what else you do besides giving, right? But here the Buddha says, when your merits have all been used up, you will come back to this world. That's it. That's why you are a returner. And this is basically a person who is mindfully guarding one's karma and rebirth. Now, I must clarify, there's nothing wrong with that. We know there's karma and there's rebirth. And if we were to mindfully guard it, then what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. So every time we do something, think about doing good and avoiding evil, right? So think about not getting involved in unwholesome states. Now, we mentioned earlier on those 3 big lessons from all the Buddhas. Avoid evil, do good, purify mind. Right? Those are the 3 things. Here, in this first motivation, we are avoiding evil. That's the first thing. Avoid evil. So we are actually at the doorstep of developing ourselves wholesome actions. Right? So this is the entry level of meritorious giving. This is the entry level. There are 7 of them. They progressively become deeper and deeper and stronger. So this is only the entry level. Do it mindfully, aware, and guard your karma, and then you will benefit from it. Right? Then the second one. Now we're progressing a little bit deeper into avoiding evil. That is as a gesture of goodness. With a mind focused on doing good, mindfully doing the right thing. Now we are going beyond avoiding evil. We're going into doing good now, right? So now you're doing something, you're offering a charity, you're offering a dana because it's the good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And your mind is focused on, it is good to give. I'm giving because it's good to give. I'm happy to give. It's good to give. So this is the next level higher now, right? So this is a little bit more advanced than the first one, which is the entry level. Now we are into it already, right? Now we're doing good, no longer just avoiding evil. And on the breakup of the body, it is possible to be reborn in the realm of the devas, but this is a slightly higher realm, devas of the 33, right? Now, I'm not too concerned or interested about all the different realms of deva, so I'll leave it aside. You can research on this, but this is one step higher now. You're getting into the higher realm, right? Then again, having exhausted all your karma, you will be returning. So here again, you are still going to return back once the merits you have accumulated have all been used up, exhausted. And basically, you're doing this by reason of ethics and for the cultivation of morality. So cultivation of sila, morality, virtues and morality. So the second reason is for the cultivation of virtues and morality. Now we go on one step further, advancing further. Again, further into doing good, right? Out of one's heritage, with a mind focused on upholding family tradition, customs, and culture. So in other words, some people are brought up in a very good home where the parents will teach them, do good, help people. So you learn from your parents, you learn from your grandparents and whoever, teaching you, and learn from your teachers and from the teachers in your community. You learn that you must help other people, you must do good. So it now becomes your tradition, your culture, part of your customs to do good, right? And with a mind focused on, this was given in the past, done in the past by my father and those before him. It would not be right for me to let this old family custom be discontinued. Again, there's nothing wrong in that because you were brought up very well by your parents and your grandparents who taught you to do good. Now you are just repeating what you have learned and doing it because you have learned that doing good is good, a good thing to do, and it's part of your lifestyle. So in other words, you're doing this because it's part of your lifestyle. Right? You're not just only, oh, this is good to give, but it's now, I want to live this life to give people, right? So now it's part of your lifestyle. And again, on the breakup of your body, you will be reborn at a higher realm, the devas of the hour. And again, you also become a returner, right? Because you have accumulated certain merits from all the goodness that you have done, all the giving, all the offerings you have given, but you will now become a returner. Basically, you're doing it out of respect and to uphold culture, customs, tradition. You have learned it from your parents and now you're practicing it. It is your lifestyle. So now it becomes a lifestyle and not just an act by itself, not a standalone act of charity, but now it is part of your life, right? So this is a higher level already. That is the third one. Now, moving on to the fourth one, now it goes beyond the self now. Up to that point, it was very it was more or less centered around your own life. But now, sharing one's wealth with a mind focused on sharing. Now you're becoming less and less selfish, or rather to put it in another way, you're becoming more and more selfless. You're becoming sharing already. You're no longer just keeping your wealth to yourself. And here thinking, I am well off, they are not well off. It would not be right for me, being well off, not to give a gift to those who are not well off. So you realize you have abundance, you have wealth, share it, don't be selfish. So this is now a higher level of cultivation. Again, you will be reborn in even a higher realm now, the devas of contentment. Because you are a contented person. With all your wealth, you are not selfish, you are not discontent and greedy. You are contented and you are happy to give. So you're happy to share. So basically, you are still a returner, because there's only a certain amount of merits you gain from sharing. And when those merits are all exhausted and used up, you get to be reborn back as a human being. Basically, this is an act out of goodwill, magnanimity, and sharing one's wealth and access. So this is good because you are now happy to share. Right? So this is the 4th level. Now going one level higher than that, now the motivation becomes very strong and powerful. As a sacrifice, with a mind focused on relieving others of their suffering. Now you are mindful that other people are suffering and you really want to help them. So this is really a very selfless act, right? So you are going deep into doing good already. Very powerful way of doing good is to sacrifice and help other people. And here it is not necessarily referring to those who are well off. You may not be well off, and yet you're willing to give. I can vouch for that from a lot of people I know. You see, I also raise funds to do humanitarian work overseas in other countries, especially in the Philippines. I actually have 3 very regular donors, and they are regular donors. They don't donate much. 20 ringgit, 30 ringgit, 50 ringgit, no, not even 50, 20 ringgit, 30 ringgit, occasionally 10 ringgit. There are 3 people who had no income. One of them is living off his children every month, giving him some pocket money, and he actually offers some of that as a donation. And the second person actually has a lot of savings. No more job. During pandemic, he lost his job, but he was still giving me every month, now and again, a small amount, saying that, please, this is for helping other people. Amazing, you know. They don't have money. He doesn't have a job, but he gives it from his savings. And now I also have a 3rd person who has recently lost her job. And yet she was able to dig money from her pocket and say, please, use this to help other people. So this is sacrifice. This is not sharing wealth anymore. This is sacrifice because they don't have wealth. And yet they're willing to dig from their pocket, even if they gave 20 ringgit to them. That 20 ringgit, the 30 ringgit, that 50 ringgit is a lot of money for a person who has no income. Realize that. So this is really sacrifice. So as a sacrifice, relieving others of their suffering. Just as there were the great sacrifices of the sages of the past. So here it is referring to historical people who were doing a lot of charity, who were sacrificing not only their wealth, but also sacrificing whatever they can, their own self also. So there was a whole list of all these sages, but I won't go into their stories, but there's a whole list of these. So just as there were the great sacrifices of the sages of the past, then the whole list of them, in the same way, will this be my offering of sacrifice? So if a person is thinking like that, he's really learning from the examples of the great sages of the past. He now offers this sacrifice. So this is now offering as a sacrifice. You are going way deep into a very powerful form of selflessness, right? You sacrifice that little that you have in order to help someone who has even less than you, right? But and such a person will be reborn again in even higher realm, devas who delight in creation. So the people who do things, to create things, make things. So now you're reborn into that realm of delight in creation. Again, still a returner, because whatever merits you accumulate will eventually be consumed and used up and exhausted, and you will return. And therefore, this is true compassion. A person who acts out of compassion and offer of sacrifice. So this is the 5th motivation. Very, very powerful already. Here we are talking about very powerful motivation. And we're not talking about people who do it 1 time, 2 times. It is people who do it continuously. And now we go very high up already. Number 6, rejoicing in one's blessings with the mind focused on peace, gratitude, and happiness in the world. So in other words, you're not just helping other people, you also want to develop or help to change the world. Well, we are not trying to change the world per se, but we are trying to change the world of the people we help. So in other words, the people we help, we have the power to help to change their world by giving to them, sacrificing to them, and bringing to them hope and peace and happiness. And we do this all happily, rejoicing out of gratitude. Not because, oh, I just give, I hope you are okay, but very happily giving. This is giving out of gratitude and joy, you know, and develop and creating peace and happiness in the world. And thinking, when this gift of mind is given, it makes the mind peaceful and serene. Gratification and joy arise. So this is really reaching a very high level. Now we have gone beyond avoiding evil and doing good. We are now into purifying the mind. Avoid evil, do good, purify mind. Now we are into purifying mind already, bringing the mind to a state of peace and happiness and gratitude. So now the mind is becoming pure already. This is the 6th level. And then this person can be reborn at a very high realm of the devas, wielding power over other creations. Okay, so this is a very high, one of the highest level of the deva world. Okay, but again, a returner, because the merits you have accumulated will be exhausted and consumed, and when all that is done, you will be reborn as a human. Right? Basically, out of gratitude for one's blessings, for peace, gratitude, harmony, and happiness. So this person is really doing it with a pure mind. This is out of the purity of mind and heart. So this is really a very high level of giving. And finally, the highest motivation in giving as a support of one's cultivation, with a mind focused on purity and perfection. This is the highest motivation one can have in giving, because it now becomes part of your cultivation. It's no longer just an action. In other words, it's not part of an action. It is not part of a lifestyle. It is part of your own cultivation to give. That giving is now second nature, right? Thinking, this is an ornament for the mind, a support for the mind. Now, this is a person with a pure mind, and a mind that is close to perfection already. And then you have something amazing happening now. On the breakup of the body, he appears in the company of the Brahma realm. So this is higher than the Devas. So you have all the Deva realm, right? And then you have the Brahma realm, higher than that, right? And this Brahma realm is also the realm of the non-returner, the Anagami, right? At the higher level. So this is at a higher realm now, right? Thus, having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, that means all the merits you have accumulated have all been exhausted, he is non-returner. He does not come back to this world. Wow, you know, you get reborn in that heavenly realm and stay there until a time comes when it's time for enlightenment, right? So there's no real clarity whether this is the Suddhavasa realm, because in the Suddhavasa realm, you are the Anagami, and you don't come back to human realm. You become enlightened as you pass on, you know, as you pass away, you are enlightened already. So therefore, this is the realm where you no longer come back, non-returner. And this is the highest motivation for giving. The motivation is for purity and perfection of mind, thereby fulfilling the first PΑRAMI, the first perfection. You have now accomplished fully accomplish the first perfection. Right? So this is really wonderful. You've reached that highest accomplishment. Right? So in summary, the 7 motivations are: firstly, mindfully guarding one's karma and rebirth. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of people think, oh, if you're thinking of karma and rebirth, that is not good. No, as long as you're not manipulating people. Because once you manipulate people, you are creating bad karma for yourself. Then you don't benefit from this. But you're not. You are doing it, as I mentioned. Remember, always, when you give, let go. Once it is off your hand, it doesn't belong to you anymore. Let it go. Don't try to control people and pull people back and manipulate people. That is very unwholesome. You will suffer from all that. But if you give and let go, then you will benefit from it. And here you realize mindful guarding your karma. And then the next is by reason of cultivating virtues and morality. Now, the first one is avoiding evil. The second one is getting into doing good already. And then you go deeper into doing good. Respect and uphold culture, customs, tradition. It is part of your lifestyle. Giving is part of the way you live your life now. You're no longer doing it as an act. You are now doing because it's part of the way you live your life. And out of goodwill, magnanimity, and sharing of one's wealth. Now you are very magnanimous already, generous already, goodwill. You're now offering whatever wealth you have, sharing it. It's into sharing and caring. And going deeper into it, you are now into compassion, offering sacrifices now. Going beyond just giving your wealth, but you are giving whatever you find, help other people, relieve them of their suffering. And now at a very high level, you are now cultivating peace, gratitude, harmony, and happiness. All these, you're purifying your mind already. And finally, at the level where you have purified your mind, for purity and perfection of mind, fulfilling the first PΑRAMI. So these are the 7 motivations. I hope these lessons have been helpful. I hope you have benefited from this sharing and learned something from this. There are many people suffering around the world from the pandemic. So let us all put our palms together and share our merits with those who are suffering from coronavirus pandemic. We dedicate the merits we have acquired from sharing the Buddha Dhamma to all beings affected by the coronavirus pandemic around the world. May suffering beings be suffering free. May the fear-struck fearless be. May grieving beings shed all grief. May all beings find peace and relief. By the grace of the merits we have acquired, may we never follow the foolish. May we follow only the wise until we attain the highest and most supreme bliss of Nibbana. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much. I wish you stay safe and may you be well, comfortable, peaceful, and happy. And good night. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.